3, 2, 1, and we're live. Okay, so first podcast of the year 2020, and I have someone that I wanted to have on the podcast for a long time. We've been planning that and sending messages like, do you want to be on the podcast? We want to talk to you. We want to talk about your career. And here she is. So this is Flavia. She's a software engineer.
Yes.
CTO of 30 hertz.
Megahertz. 30 megahertz.
30 megahertz. That's the way you say that?
It's not an easy name.
Yeah, so it's a company based in Amsterdam. But before talking about the company, I want to talk about Flavia. So you're a first software engineer. You study computer science in Argentina.
Yeah.
And you work as a software engineer for many years, Android project, and then you work on, you actually start a cloud-based kind of software company in the way.
Yeah, I worked for quite some years. I think in Argentina I was already, because I studied and worked at the same time. So by the time I finished. It took 10 years to finish my studies because I was working more or less full time.
Yeah.
So I had, 10 years of experience, mostly working as a software developer in Java or technical lead. And then I moved to Holland.
Yeah, like 12 years ago, as you mentioned.
That was 12 years ago. And then... Yeah, I worked for TomTom.
Yeah.
That was the first job, more or less the first job. Not really, but in Holland.
Yeah, are they the one who actually...
No, I came... I came privately.
Oh, okay.
And then I looked for a job.
Yeah,
but
very
it was
good.
Not,
yeah, but you had... Because at TomTom you were working mostly on their Android... app, or is
actually
that something like that?
A sort of Google Maps, but made by TomTom, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But it is basically it was a Google Maps with traffic and stuff like that.
Indeed.
And then I went on to work in Layer, which is augmented reality app, which by now is. It was, I think, a bit too far ahead in time.
In time, yeah.
And it lived for a few years.
The concept of being too far ahead in time, I want to go back to it a bit later because you so far, over the years you built a few companies and you probably know better than anyone that some companies have, like our product, have their time, and then you gotta probably be patient, but keep going, and then you had you have a problem if you're ahead of time in time. You like Layer in the end closed. It was bought by another company, but they closed down because it was not profitable, or it was not it was not their time yet.
Not really a business case to continue. And actually where we are now, we're also making I will talk about it later, I think, but the product we make is also, we are doubting if it's the right time because, growers have to be convinced that this will really help them, and maybe they think no.
Okay, so we get back to it later. So and then at some point, you had this issue. I don't know how you will materialize that. Then you start a company called Cloud. 9apps. It was 9apps. Yeah, it was actually a cloud based
like
platform.
Cloud. We called it a cloud boutique.
Yeah.
It still exists.
Okay.
The company now it's more a consultancy. It's for us when we were. We sold it, or almost. When we did it, we were a few friends with 4 people. And the idea was that with very few people, we could serve 9 companies. We could keep 9 apps running full 24/7 without so much effort, without having to wake up all the time. Which we did have to wake up. That's because we helped making these architectures more scalable, then it could be improved, and we didn't have to have too much work. And it was really interesting job, like working with many different development teams, sometimes a lot of headaches because of that. You know, I mean, now I think developers are the best kind of people to work with, but when you work with many different teams and everyone has their special thing and you are external, then it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But it was... Yeah, we work with Amazon Web Services, and it was extremely illustrating for us. Like, we learned how to scale architectures from a few users to all of a sudden. Well, Layer was one of our customers, and one time they had they were on television, and then they had a huge spike in load, and we were able more or less to handle that, but we had issues. Learning all these things was really
nice. And I want to go back to, because right after that you started 30 megahertz in still in Amsterdam, and today you're a company based in what is it again, southeast or west in Amsterdam somewhere?
Near Sloterdijk, Amsterdam Sloterdijk.
Yeah. And then you have a customer all around the country, or how does that work?
We have customers in Holland, a lot of them, growers, farmers, and then also in other countries we have a lot of in UK, in US as well, in Asia and Australia. Yeah.
So let me go back to the beginning. You're this young woman in early age, and then you're like, I'm interested in computer, or what happened? How did you get into computers? Why did you choose computer science, if I were to put it this way?
Well, it sounds like very, it might sound a little bit chance. I think that happened by chance, but when I was finishing high school, I was thinking, what am I going to study? I was going to study something, but I didn't know what, because I did like many different things. And then I was talking to a good friend, and I used to have a computer at home. We used to have, I used to a little bit play programming, like in the period of BASIC, and it was a long time ago. I like that. The typical, like, taking the computer magazines and then copying the code to see, like, a game code to see what happened and stuff like that. And then I talked to this friend who said to me, like, but you can spend hours in front of the computer. Why don't you study something related to that? And I was, okay, that's a good idea. A bit silly, but yeah. And then I think at first I was going to study engineering. And then when I saw the computer science, I really liked the program, the different What is the subject you like the most? Well, I like things like artificial intelligence and that kind of thing, machine learning.
So you got, but that even there, if you're talking about ML, AI, because you did your study, you said like between 1996 and then, so even there, AI, ML, all these things was like pretty new. You had already some curriculum that incorporated.
There was artificial intelligence as an optional subject you could choose, and machine learning, which I did choose. And we did some robotics as well. I think at that in those years, I'm not sure now, but there's a robot football championship. And our university was participating. So it back then, it goes back much more than we think.
Okay, because obviously now it became mainstream. We see it everywhere. We think this is a pretty a new concept, but it has been in work for many years now.
Now it's much more applied because there's more data and there's more computing power.
Yeah, indeed. And so what at the end of your study, or you said during your study you were already working. How did that work for you to combine and studying and working and still keeping focus on this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve?
I guess I'm also a little bit stubborn because I chose to study that and I continued. But on the other hand, it's really very enjoyable that if you're, I don't know, learning something at school and then applying it at work, and vice versa, learning something at work and then you go to school and then you can say, okay, in reality this is maybe a bit different, or I found it really very positive and I would recommend it to other people. I know here in Holland it's more like you study and you get a grant maybe or something, and then you cannot
work.
Take many years. It's different. In Argentina, you have a public university, and it can take you a long time. You're allowed to.
Okay. That's a good.
It's different.
Yeah, I actually like it much better because it gives you that freedom. Like you go, you try stuff, and then you can come back, get more knowledge, and then you go back and then keep applying. And at some point, you're done with learning, but you have much more technical experience or background at the end of the program. In France, they have these like part-time, you study and then you're working, and so they do like 1 week at school, 3 weeks at companies and stuff like that.
Sounds
that gives people possibility to combine learning and apply those learnings right away. Interesting. So then you went on and start working for a lot of companies. One of them you just mentioned was TomTom. And you work on Google Map before Google Map or something close to it. How was the experience of like trying to map the world and put it in a digital format?
It was, I don't know, for me it was also interesting that I came from the Java world and backend and so on, and then I went on to make the front end of first I worked on the front end and then on the back end of this Google Maps thing. And it was like, the nice thing is like the team was so good, and everything had to work always. So we did tests for everything. So maybe it was not at the level of Google Maps now. No, totally not, because Google Maps now is a monster. But the quality was really good. So I met people that I'm still in contact with, or some people who work with us now that we asked him to come. I was not involved in the maps themselves, so it was more like the front end and the communication between APIs and.
Because it seems trivial today when you think about it, but that apps, even if it's for free for most of people, it is actually an amazing piece of software when you think about the
Google Maps.
Google Maps and what you can do with it, which kind of like when you start social projects, let's just map the world, and that's actually really ambitious. So that's why, as I thought as you mentioned, like working on such a thing, and it was early on, so Google Map wasn't already where it is today. So, but TomTom switched then on Google Maps later on, right? Because today they use Google Map or something close to it.
I don't know.
Okay. Because I think they did switch to Google Map at some point.
To use the maps themselves, sources.
Yeah.
Could be. I remember at that time there was also OpenStreetMap. So there was so TomTom was doing their own efforts to map the world.
Yeah.
And Google was also, and then OpenStreetMap was a sort of crowd-funded
effort.
But I don't know. Of course, TomTom is Dutch, so it was very strong in Holland, but in the rest of the world, it became less and less.
Yeah, indeed. So let me ask you this: you work as a developer. You led teams, and then at some point you were working, as you mentioned, for Layard. Is that the company that was doing the augmented reality thing? And then from there you went on and built 9 apps. That transition from
how did I get there?
Yeah, how did you get there? What is the transition from I'm leading this team and there is this opportunity and let's go and build that company? It might have happened in different ways, but can you tell us the story of that transition?
I was so one of the there was one person, one very special person who was doing the DevOps of Layer at that moment when I was still working there. I brought him in because the secret is that he was my husband.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was.
Okay.
So he started basically he started alone. With the company.
Yes.
9 apps. I worked for a few months more, but I said no. I want to join you. I don't want to. I want to do our own thing. He didn't earn money for a long time, but at some point, I decided I just want to do it together. And,
Okay.
And from then on it was, I think, because in the case of Jörg, my husband, he had already started a couple of companies before.
Yeah.
So it was, in that sense, I had, I don't know, someone to rely on some of the aspects of funding a company.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Okay.
But
interesting.
On the other hand, it was really, for me, it was like he had done a lot of operations in his previous work, like maintaining servers and stuff. And for me, it was, I'm a developer. What server? I don't know. Just
how those things works.
This was like from A to Z. Okay, let's learn this, and so that's why I say it was the mentality in those. I think there were 5 years or so. Changed completely for me. So it was like, you think as a developer, you do your stuff and you finish it and you test it, fine. You pass it on to the next person who is going to take care of it. It was like, no, you have to think, how are you going to make sure it's always online? How are you going to monitor? How are you going to... So the architecture is part of your thinking.
So basically what you're saying there is like you grew, it helped you see things differently about software engineering, as a whole, the package. And now you can see like all around the world there is this DevOps mentality, there is this like we want to have developers that are able to ship their code and maintain that relation. But that's kind of what you were already doing back then. We were talking about like 2009, 2014, so like 5 years. It wasn't that obvious for people, like this is the way you should be building product.
I think that we had a lot of inspiration from Werner Vogels from Amazon the CTO of Amazon Web Services. So we breathed and spoke AWS, and everything was AWS, and we learned that from them. So there's a saying that he used to say, you build it, you run it. So not you build it and test it and it's all fine. You run it.
Yeah.
And that changes completely the way you do it.
Yeah, I like that.
Them.
You build it, you run it. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was a big inspiration.
Yeah, I will even put it like if are you a DevOps engineer? Yeah. So did you build it? Yeah. Do you run it? Yes. Then you're a DevOps engineer. It's in a way because there is this discussion between what is a DevOps engineer and do a DevOps engineer code, and like my opinion is like you didn't build it, so what are you calling yourself DevOps? You're an ops engineer, and that's okay to be an ops engineer, but not a DevOps in a way.
Yeah.
And then how did it work? Did you have a team working with you? So you were with your husband, and then did you hire more people, or how did it work over time?
With 9apps, it was so we were actually my husband and his sister was there, so it was very much a family company.
Yeah, okay.
And then we asked a friend who was working in TomTom to join.
Yeah, okay.
And his story is even maybe more amazing because he was more working on hardware and the low-level stuff, and then he joined us to do DevOps.
Yeah.
So he joined as a partner. We were like 4 partners, and I think at some point later on, we had another friend joining, and some people came and went, but it was a very small.
Okay, small team. And did you have to deal with like how was it to have partners beyond your husband? I mean, even your husband already, it's like it's my partner in business, but how was it the experience to build that first company for you at the end of the day? Even though you had the help of like support of your husband and then kind of friends coming together, you knew people because you work with them, but at some point you need to make money to survive or to pay bills. How did it work for you?
Well, I think if you partner with other people to build a company, the most important thing is that you need to match somehow. So with us 4, I think we never had any issues because somehow we think or we have the same values. So we want quality. We want to we're honest. We I don't know, no bullshit.
Yeah. No bullshit company. Yeah.
So we have the same values. We are direct. We don't have big egos like. I think like competitiveness, stuff like that, or not useless. Competitiveness can help you, but you have to direct it to the right to your right competition.
Goals. Yeah, we're 5. Let's not fight internally, but fight
like, who is right and stuff like that. It's like, okay, what's best for what we are doing for the company, and so that was also when I by the time we decided to go to 30 megahertz, the experience was like it's just easy to work together, and we are just all equal. There's no bosses, and there's no. And then when you build a bigger company, and then you start to need to have positions or different titles and stuff like that, it's like. It becomes weird, like because I think for all of us, we came from this all equal. We discuss everything, etc. And then some people start looking at you like we are not the same. You're the boss, and it's like that's something. One of the struggles I had to go through.
Okay.
Or have to.
So I
for me it's a big family, and sometimes you feel that you're not treated like that.
Yeah, it's difficult. I do understand what you're saying there. I have to admit that when I started Hackages, I had this flat management. Like everyone is just doing the best they can. You have you're trying to make sure that everyone is equal in the sense, but there's always this little human thing coming in, like, no, we're not, but why not? And then people come with like a lot of complexity that goes into managing relationship. In like while you're building a company, you need people gonna ask for more money or more things, and because they just think they're entitled to it, which sometimes is right, sometimes it's not, but it's just the way things goes. But then it became difficult as the company grew to maintain that we're family. At some point, like, no, we're not. It becomes unmanageable. So maybe those titles are important to keep people keep priorities straight. So, and then you sold that company, and you went on and built your current company. Can you tell us more about? There's that transition.
Sort of. Actually, we
because you actually went in like total different direction.
It took some years because first we built a platform which was supposed to help us with 9 apps for web monitoring. So a kind of pingdom, I don't even know it, like to tell you if things are up or down, if your websites are up or down, and the response times and stuff like that. So we wanted to productize that, to make it, to sell it. Because for me, I always wanted to make a product. Not only service, but I like to build something and see that people use it. And so we started building this product with the idea to sell it, but to use it ourselves as well. So, and we still do. But this platform mutated. So over the years, first we found that we could, instead of just monitoring websites, we could gather data from sensors. And our partner who worked in TomTom in the lower level hardware stuff, he had experience, and knowledge, background for it. So we incorporated sensors. There were some, I think our first big use case is a company, it's called GGZ in Dutch, GGZ. It's a health company. And they wanted to know if the rooms were occupied or not, and if how much occupancy did they have in the whole month, because maybe they could rent less room and stuff like that. So this was one of our first use cases, but as you can see, it's not agriculture.
No.
So it was a path. So now we are the sensor company, and then later agriculture became bigger and bigger. There was a lot of interest in using sensors inside greenhouses. So we went more and more that way, and we became the data platform for agriculture. And now we are on a mission to digitalize agriculture. So we help connect all the systems that farmers use to put all the data there, visualize it, work with it, even learn. So that's how it went.
So I love it's important that I want you. I don't know if you'll be able to give us more detail in like the transition, how you go from one idea to the other, and then keep improving, and then at some point you're like, no, today we're this company. Tomorrow we actually this other company, but you said like we were this other company. No. Yeah, at that moment we were that company, and then we transitioned to that, and this because the market is moving, our product is growing, and the more it grows, the more opportunities come to us. Could you tell us more about that transition of making the decision of let's go that route? let's explore this route, because while you were deciding to go left, maybe that or the same product could have gone on in a different direction. Because so my question there is, how did you make those decisions as a team with your co-founders and to go in different direction, and how did you grow the team now at 30 megahertz to where you are today? How did it go? You put it together.
Well, I think it was very, two words, opportunistic and organic.
Okay.
So opportunistic because we were just exploring and trying to sell to whoever would buy our sensors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point we realized if we were going to compete in the website monitoring market, it was going to be very tough.
Yeah.
So when the sensor opportunity came, I don't know, we just took it. So, and then it was just selling to whoever wanted sensors.
Yeah.
We have the sensor for whatever you need.
Okay.
Which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, now we know how many types and kinds and varieties of sensors there are. It's quite... It's not true. You cannot have.
You can't. Yeah.
I mean, we could try to connect. That's what we were doing. But if you try to solve everyone's problem, you're not going to solve anyone's problem. You're going to do it a little bit half. But it was what we had, so we had to sell and we had to make money somehow. What happened is that the agriculture market just demanded. Ask for more. I think we just got into it. We didn't have anyone from that industry. It was it just worked. And then it was always looking at what was happening. I mean, it sounds, I don't know if it sounds like we know what we're doing, but it was more like... looking at what's happening and try to move wherever the opportunities are. Yeah. And you say, how did we decide? I think everything in our company it happens in a way still, even though maybe we're not a family anymore. It's quite organic, everyone talks to everyone else. Yeah.
I mean, you're still a family, but not the kind of family that you mentioned at the beginning.
Family with problems.
Exactly. We need to solve these problems here and there, but it's mostly we're growing. At some point, we need to give people title to manage better, to lead a thing, like a project and so on and so forth. But what you mentioned was opportunities. Like you had, actually at the moment you were the sensor company. That's what you were at that exact moment. And then going after opportunities, you realize that this one is... someone is willing to take it here. It will have been a whole different industry than the greenhouses. That will have been your main customer at the beginning, and then you will have been that company providing for only this. So I like the flexibility there. It's literally an adventure. But how did you then decide at some point, let me go back to the growth of the company, and then at some point you start hiring people. I saw in your leadership team, there are a lot of women. And that was also one of the things that when I contacted you, I was doing my research and I saw you had a few other women leading part of the company. And I was like, how did you build the company to reach that level, and what is the decision process there?
I think I might be criticized by this, but I think if you want to have more diversity and more women, you have to think about it. It's not like, okay, let's see, and then we compare everyone, because we compare everyone and then we choose the best. Yeah. Yes, you have to choose the best, but you have to look for the people you want. So, so for example, if I want more women, then I have to go to places where there are women.
There were women, yeah.
Second, you have to realize that everyone, almost probably, have bias.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't realize, but most people have a bias.
We all do have our own biases, yeah.
Yes. So you have to be aware of that. There's a test, I don't remember what's the name, maybe I can tell you later, that you can do online, maybe you know it already, and then for different kinds of biases. Bias for women, or for fat people, or for people of color, or for whatever.
Yeah.
And then it gives you an idea if you have a bias.
I don't know about
It's
it. I'll be interested.
interesting.
I'll be interested to
Maybe I can give you the link later.
Yeah.
So if you're aware of your bias, then you can all the time question if you are like immediately evaluating someone.
Based on your...
Maybe there's an influence of your bias.
Yeah.
So those two things are important. Having said that, we have not been a lot actively searching for people, because we get many of the people who work with us were either friends of friends, or people we knew somehow through someone else, brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I have my company and we're doing X. Oh, but I know someone is... We're actually looking for that person. That's like more being... You were talking about opportunity, like being opportunistic on this thing comes at you, and then you're like, we can just open.
Yeah, and then at some moment, because we work in agriculture and we have an interesting mission. We have a lot of people coming to us. Yeah. So we haven't had to look very actively.
It's a good position to be in, but you still have these. It's from outside. So I'm talking for me, watching your company from outside. You have like a good layer of like women in leadership at your company, and this is by design in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. But what is it that makes? How would you define your company today? What is the values? Let's go from the core mission, the values, and obviously how you build that over time. That culture,
yeah.
Let's go back from the go ahead.
Just one thing before moving on to another.
Yeah.
Like, it's true we have women, but I do have trouble finding women engineers.
Okay.
So that's something I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is it's not so common that for women to go and say, hey, I want to work for you.
Yeah.
They're more
afraid, or like
to not be good enough.
Yeah.
You know, and then so that's something that for us that we take into account, and that's why I say we have to go look for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in Holland, but there's not so many
women. But that's a general trend, right? Because it is. So that's one of the reasons I invited you as well, because in my network there isn't not that many women in my network that are software engineers. With the team here at Hackflix, we start doing these documentaries where we actually show the life of an engineer who has a double or triple set of like passions. Or I'm a software engineer and I'm a cook. I'm a software engineer and I jump out of planes. Or the one we just did was like that guy is a software engineer. He's a very good dancer and he built robots and stuff like that. So we're telling those stories as documentary. And then at some point we were like, could we find women that like just tell the story, inspire other women. We didn't find any, and I don't think it's just a matter of the Netherlands. It's kind of everywhere. Probably not countries like Tunisia. I will tell you why I mentioned Tunisia or Ukraine or all these, because there is this culture of saying you want to work, you want a job, you gotta study computer science, and they're not afraid to go that route. Okay. Russia and stuff like that. But I feel like in a country where you have that many options, like here, people will want to go for STEAMs, like computer science, electronics, and things like that by default. They will go lawyer. I remember a friend of mine told me, "Oh, we just have a new batch of interns, and 80% of them are women." And I was like, "How you have 80%?" And there were like more than 100 people starting, like the ministry, I don't know where, it's here in the Netherlands. And I was like, 80% women? Why don't we have those kind of numbers as software engineers? And yeah, the thing is like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but there is not enough. There is, yeah. And that's why I invite you, it's also to inspire people like, yeah, you can do that. There's badass women. I'm just sorry for the word, but those people are out there. They're doing great stuff, yes. And so can you. And what I just wrote down here is like one of the things we wanted to do with Zara was to organize a kind of round table where we invite women in leadership position, but also software engineer everywhere in the industry in Amsterdam, and then we organize like a conversation, live conversation where we can discuss this thing and trying to find solution. Because it's not my job to do that, but I think just to have that open conversation is enough to spark interest out there.
But you'd be surprised how many groups and meetups there are of women developers in different languages, and so they already sort of
activities,
organize themselves in trying to get together. Because I think, from what I remember, for example, when I started studying, I had this feeling like I'm an alien here. Like all these guys, and they have already been programming in Pascal for a long time. So I was like, what am I doing here? I don't know anything. I don't know. I think also women and men are different. Men tend to be more confident, so they show this confidence, and women see this and they are like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. And there's a lot of prejudice as well, like that STEM is not for women. Like if you're a woman, it's more difficult, and it's totally not true. But there was a study I read about that related the fact that there were, it was in the US, but it's everywhere, like the fact that most teachers in primary school were women, with the fact that girls didn't want to study or didn't like math. Because if all these teachers were not confident about their math, they communicated this to the students, and then because as a girl your role model is a woman, for women they were more permeable to this, so they came to think or to assume that maths was a very difficult thing. So it's it comes back from that to very young age.
I think it's an endless conversation, in a sense, like a lot of people are working trying to solve that issue, but I don't know. I don't know how to. If you want to attract women at your company, you're actually in one of the best position because you build. Yeah, you're a woman. You build that company to. You empower other women, and they should see it. They should be able to see that. Yeah, it's a place for you to work and to shine. Okay, but then. Let me go back to my question about building a culture, building that team, and be able to maintain that culture as the company grow, as the mission evolve.
Yeah, it's interesting your question because we are also sometimes discussing it. Yeah, what is our culture? What are our values? Maybe even within the original founders, it's not exactly the same what we see, but there is, of course, more than 30 people. Everyone has their own ideas. But last couple of in December, we got in for the first time some HR people to help us do a sort of survey to find out what was going on, because none of us knows anything about HR, and we go and learn in the process. So they made this survey, and one of the questions was, what is the culture of 30 megahertz? And it was nice to see that when they showed us the results, they took a number of people as a sample and they asked them. And it was nice to see that it is our idea. Basically, the culture is a bunch of friendly people who want to do things together and help each other. Have fun, and everybody mentioned the flexibility in our company because people can come and go as they like, more or less.
Yeah.
But that can be a way of summarizing what our culture is.
Yeah, but that is this quest for. Keeping everyone aligned, like with the that's probably a difficult part. How do you deal with that on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's also something we discuss with the HR people. One way is to, whenever you take a decision, maybe you have to mention, because this is important for us, this is our value, then we should do this and not that, or something like that. I don't know, because we value honesty. It's good to tell our customer that this is not possible or whatever.
Yeah, okay. You're missing some opportunities there. I know some salespeople that will just go we can do that. No. Like, and then they go back to the engineers, and you're like, no, it was not planned. Or it's like, but the client already signed for it. It's like, no, we're not doing it. Yeah, being honest is important.
Basically, half of the management team in the company are engineers, so we can be quite direct. I think in 9apps we fired several customers when it was not working. It was like, okay, this is not working.
Wow. We fire our customers because it wasn't working. That's. I was like, I thought you would say we fire salespeople because it was not working. It's like, no, we fire customers. That's a good way to put it. So, can you tell us more about? You mentioned that briefly, but the mission today of your company, like once again, it's an evolving being.
Yeah.
What is the mission today? If you were to put that, someone is looking at you like, I want to work for that woman. What is the mission again for their company?
I'm gonna do this again and go back to the previous, to another previous thing that had pending in my head. Another way to keep the values important way is to when you recruit, because you always have to make sure that the people that you hire somehow share those values. Yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna go. It can go anywhere. Yeah. Now, okay, done about that. Yeah. Yeah. What's the mission? We have this mission to digitalize agriculture. It sounds very, I don't know, ambitious. Yeah. But we see that we can make a difference because there's something missing there, some hole. There are different systems. There's a lot of data being collected, but there's not something putting it all together. And we think because we come, like, the agriculture industry for us it's new, but many of the players so far are coming from the industry, meaning that they know how to grow plants. Yeah. We don't know anything about growing plants, but we know how to build scalable systems. That's our strength. So we think that we can bring this to the industry. We are also, part of our way of working is bringing good professionals that can solve problems. We hired a data scientist recently, and now we are working on learning. In a way, digitalizing and automating the way that you grow plants, crops in a greenhouse. Okay. So that means, we're still a very technical company. We keep being like that, and we think that with our capacity and bringing the right people, we can solve problems that currently the industry is not able to solve. Yeah.
Or they're not even aware of, because for them they're in the routine, their daily routine, but at some point, sometimes you just don't see that segment of your business. If it's if you digitalize that, it will bring you so much more value. Maybe this kind of. But there is something you mentioned at the beginning was about are we in the right time? Is it the right timing? Our customer you were talking about the timing of being in an industry, building a product, and then realizing that no, you're probably not in the right time. What were you referring to in a way?
Yeah, well, and maybe because I have too many ideas going around in my head. Yeah. So on one hand, what we were talking about before about the mission, digitalizing, which sounds very abstract or maybe a little bit too functional. Yeah. What's in my head and some of my colleagues, I see us at some point with these kind of systems where we digitalize, automate, and take the knowledge that is in the industry and put it in a system. We can help growers in Latin America or in Africa. Yeah. We can help them get this knowledge there, which is might not exist. Or we can help them be able to grow crops in a more sustainable way, in a more efficient way. Because with greenhouses you can grow much more.
Regardless of the season.
In a smaller space, regardless almost of the season. So all these things, which is in our heads, it's not going to happen from today to tomorrow or next year. But it is it is a bit being ahead, at least in intentions. Now, before I said that maybe we sometimes we feel that we are that we bring something that is new, that doesn't exist yet. In that sense, it's being ahead. Like if you have, I think there are many examples in the history of technology. Like you have one, I don't know, Mozilla, and then in the end, what was it? The one which won the battle?
Netscape was. You mean for the browser?
So there was one which was the first, that didn't win.
Mosaic. I mean, not even Mosaic. Before Mosaic, there was one, and Mosaic was the one by Netscape.
That was
the first commercial browser. And then Internet Explorer came in, but it was mostly like a fight. But a good example of it, of being too early, or was like Twitter, for example. Twitter started it like the product itself. That's it started the product probably 2-3 years prior to the thing. Then it's like, no, that's too early. I mean, there were no responses. That's to my knowledge, that's what happened. And then a few years later, they try again, and then the market was there. There was a need for such a thing. There are a few apps like that that were either too early because the infrastructure wasn't able to sustain that, and then once the infrastructure was there, can just put it back. And you mentioned augmented reality. It's not a new concept. With your Layards, is that the company was working on such a thing, and was it ready? No, probably not. The industry wasn't completely ready for that. And today, the infrastructure, we have more processing power, so then that enables this thing to happen. And as we go 5G and all the new qubit computing and all this stuff, it will become even more possible to make this thing happen. So there's this. But what you're basically saying there is, from what I understood, is you have this vision, but you know that. It is a vision. Today, even if you had all the things, that would be too early. Is that what I understood?
I don't think that the technology-wise, I think we can already do it.
Yeah, even in like most of region in Africa and or South America.
Good point, but.
Because it also goes with the education, right? Because one of the...
Or money.
In a way. Saying like, do people have access to, internet? Like, do they have access to the capital to basically buy the material to run the programs, for example? And then the educational part is, do they have access to enough education material to understand the value that such a tool will bring to them? Even here in Holland, you still needed to convince people, to educate them, to show them like, this is what our product does and could do for you. And so I think there is this part that needs to be available at a certain scale for you to then go in there. So let's take, for example, a company like Facebook. Okay, it's probably not the best example, but they do it really well. So what they did is like, we want to connect the world. But if we wait for each country to make the internet available for everyone in their country, then we're not gonna get our mission. We're not gonna be able to reach our mission. But then, like, how do you do that? If they have the means, so they have money, capitals, and they're able to provide satellite to the space and then make internet available literally everywhere because they have the means. So by doing so, they suddenly enable their mission. They make their mission even more like reachable because they were able to say, like, let's unlock that blocking point and then open the thing. Okay, whatever people think of Facebook, if we think in terms of strategy, that's a very good way of doing it. And I know a few companies that were able to do that at scale. So if you had this kind of means, maybe you will be able to just say,
there yet.
damn, I thought you were there already. Okay, so maybe one more question about your company, and then I will go back quickly back to you specifically. What is the main blocking point today in terms of, if there is any, in terms of growing your maybe your customer base or having people to use your product, or is there any blocking point? Or
of course it's a struggle. We have now almost 400 customers, which is a lot, but with our current pricing, it doesn't allow us to sustain ourselves. So we are changing that. But
your customer acquisition strategy as a company, it's you mean
we have a very small sales team. And our strategy.
It's funny because now we're back to we're engineers, but let's actually have a small sales team still.
No, but the strategy is that they don't. Their main thing is not anymore to sell directly, because it has been like that for the last few years, like just literally calling, hello, I am Hans from 30 megahertz, and I have this solution. So cold calling, a lot of cold calling. Now the idea is to go more into a strategy in which we find companies in the industry which already have customers, who already have they have a problem that we can solve. And then we offer them an application on top of our product, and then they can do the sales because they already know their customers, they already know what they need. We can because, as I said before, we are not part of the industry. They know better what functionality. I mean,
it could be easier to just be hidden in the whole process. Like, people using your product, they don't even realize that you're part of the layer. For example, we all have a credit card or a bank card, but there are a lot of layers actually. Like, when you have that card, you just don't know that there is actually a system, a whole software layer that takes care of the fraud and all the things. There are another one that takes care of the regulation or about I don't know what. But there are companies there in the middle that we don't know. But we use their product without knowing that they're right there.
In a way, that might be the direction. But for now, we already have made a name for ourselves. So I don't know. Maybe it will go that way. Maybe not.
So I want to quickly go back to you being a software engineer, and now you're a CTO of a company. Do you get to code still? Do you get to manage people?
Yes, I get to code.
Okay, often.
But it's very stressful because to code you need concentrated time and to focus. I love coding.
Yes.
it's just I do it because we are not enough people.
Yeah.
um,
I struggle with that as well.
yeah, but I do like it.
Yeah. And so now we're talking about more like the IT part, the get the machine, the software running. How do you build that? How many people do you how do you manage your teams to release the product? How often do you release the product? What is that? What is 30 megahertz as a software company? Well, how does that look?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting or challenging things for us is that we are not only software hardware company.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the engineering development team is basically divided into, there are 3 teams of engineers. One of them developing software and hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So the software which goes on the hardware and the hardware itself, connecting sensors and putting them in the boards and stuff, very roughly speaking. I'm not a hardware engineer.
Yeah.
Then there's the platform engineers, and then there's platform, front end, everything else.
Yeah.
And then there's a group of engineers who make sure that everything is configured right. It's more like an operations team, but yeah. So that's how it's organized. So my teams are the hardware and software teams, and you would say, what is she doing there because she doesn't know any hardware? No, that's where my partner Jasper comes in, and he directs that part very well. And there's other very senior people. So one of the reasons I think that we succeeded in the technological side of things is that we have quite a high level of seniority in the team. So
I mean,
when you're a small team, you just need people who
you just need people to like get the stuff done, then and know what to do, and they just go after it. Yeah, very interesting. And so you get to. How do you manage that in terms of time? How do you manage? I need to manage people or the company and answer Davy inviting me to a podcast and all these things, and I still need to code and deliver sometimes some patches here or fixes there. How do you manage your time?
You just touched a very sore point.
Okay.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult because on one hand you have, like you said, your CTO responsibility that you have to take care of people. That's like for me it's very, very important. Then you have to respond to your supervisors, which are your investors and so on.
Okay.
And that also comes with a bunch of work and stuff like you have to give them or to explain, account for what you spend your time on and your money, and so budgeting and all these kind of things, new concepts for me. And yes, the day-to-day work. If you don't have enough people, it's a bit challenging.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you have to.
No. It's what is the? How do you make sure that you always stay up to date with technology out there? And you have a software company, like a hardware. No, let's say, how can I put it? A product company. Is that the way you would put it? Like, I'm just trying to make the mix between software and hardware company, because you're basically providing a product to customer. But then the underlying technology changes, they evolve. How at your company you stay up to date, you make sure that you're always like learning, or people are always up to date with things that needs to be, that changes.
I don't know if I'm totally up to date. No, but part of being curious helps. So that if now information is omnipresent, or I don't know if that's the right word. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
So if you receive all sorts of, you can subscribe to all sorts of newsletters and stuff, and then you take what is interesting. But in general, I'm driven by the problems we have ourselves, and then if I see, oh, there's this new technology, it could help solving these problems that we have, then that's how I get up to date. But always in my free time. It's just
free time.
No free time.
In
my no free time.
Your no free time. Okay, no free time. That says it all.
When I don't have alarms, because maybe you heard a little bit. I still receive alarms when something goes wrong. I'm still part of the team.
Okay. Interesting. So you even have like you're using your phone as a notification system, like, hey, something is burning.
Yes.
Very good. Flavia, we have we talked about a few things already. At Agflix, I'm grateful that you are here today. And at Agflix, we have this thing where we ask our guests if they have people that inspire them to be whoever they are today, and that's the question I'm asking you. Is there anyone that inspire you out there that you would probably want to say thank you to the person, or I don't know, is there someone like that in the industry?
No, there's many people that inspire me. So this is for me to say thank you to someone.
So I'm saying thank you right now, but I don't know if you're gonna be open to this. But what we do is we usually, if someone inspire you, we want to talk to that person. We want to invite that person on the podcast, right? And we want you to be there to actually host the podcast with the person and talk about different topics. Is this something you will be open?
This is the first time I am in a podcast, and you want to me in the other side.
But with someone that inspire you, that you never know.
I agree. It's
Who will be that? Who will
someone
be that person?
that I think of several people, but one of the persons that is sometimes inspiring, or my colleague, my partner who runs the hardware team. I think I would. He's a nice guy. You can have an interesting conversation, I think.
Yeah, hardware related, and basically talking about.
But then we tell this story all over.
Okay.
I don't know, but he has his own point of view of these things. Different story for him.
Okay. And what's the name? Can you?
It's Jasper Gertsen.
Jasper Gertsen. Okay.
Yeah.
We find you, Jasper. We will find you. We know where you live. And we're going to invite you here on the podcast. So you said you don't want to have Jasper on the podcast, like you will host him.
That I don't want?
It's open. Would you like to host him? You have some question already for him, then he's gonna prepare already. So you can talk to him right here, and then you tell him to prepare already for the questions you have for him.
Okay.
Well, okay. Once again, we have a pretty good conversation about being a software engineer, being a CTO. I mean, being an engineer, being a CTO, running companies, going after opportunities. Mm-hmm. So do you have a last word for people watching, for people listening? Any advice, anything you want to add?
No, I just follow your passion, do it. And especially if you're a woman. Just don't feel less or threatened by not fitting in, because it's normal that if you're different than most of people that you are in with, then you feel different. But it's, I mean, it's just, yeah.
Okay.
You might be losing an opportunity, talking about opportunities, if you don't go for your passion. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Flavia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.